Aaron Judge hit home run number 62. The Rangers split a doubleheader, and Kumar Rocker made his first start while wearing a Rangers uniform. We're getting into all of that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Wednesday, October 5th, the last day of the regular season, and your Rangers are 67-94. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers and subscribe on YouTube, pretty please. I know it's the end of the season, but we've got a lot of really great off-season content coming up for y'all, and comment any single thing below. It is the best way you can help grow the show and help me out personally. We're going to get into the Aaron Judge talk. We're going to get into the Rangers actually splitting a doubleheader and Kumar Rocker's affiliated debut. But first, today's episode is sponsored by SimpliSafe Home Security. With Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe, 24/7 monitoring agents capture evidence to accurately verify a threat for faster police response. There is no safe like SimpliSafe. Visit simplisafe.com/lockedonmlb to learn more. Now, let's talk about Game 1 of this doubleheader. The Rangers lost 5-4, of course, 1-run loss. It's going to be fitting if they get the final game of the season is a 1-run loss, because that has just been the entire story of this Rangers team. But I got to give credit to Jon Gray, who did give up a pair of home runs, but none of them were to Aaron Judge. None of them. Not a single one. Aaron Judge went 1 for 5 on the day, did not strike out. I did have a couple of swings and misses on some nasty Jon Gray sliders, but this is a solid final start to the regular season for Jon Gray. 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, all of which were earned, a pair of homers, no walks, and 3 strikeouts. He was able to go deep into this game, but the game was pretty much lost by Brock Burke, which is a real rarity. I know it's his 5th blown save of the season. He is 7-5. Which, not that pitcher mattered record, but it's kind of interesting that a reliever has that many wins. Usually you don't see relievers get that many decisions that aren't just blown saves, but Brock Burke has been incredibly good this season. He still has an ERA under 2. I don't think we're going to see him in this finale, so I think his ERA is going to finish the season at 197. He just did not have it under control. Gave up a home run to, I believe his was Kyle Higashioka. Yeah. He gave up a Kyle Higashioka home run, which hasn't happened a whole lot this season. But I also want to give credit to Dennis Santana, who came in with runners on the corners and was able to get 2 outs to get the Rangers out of that inning. Jonathan Hernandez was clutch yet again in his 1 shutout inning of work, but the Rangers offense just couldn't quite get just enough going. But Adolis Garcia had a big moment in this one. He finally crossed the 100 RBI mark with a 2-run shot in fantastic fashion after some really great base running earlier on by a little bloop single from Josh Young into right field. The right fielder kind of lobbed it in there to second base, and Adolis Garcia took full advantage of it and got on the board, gave the Rangers a lead in the bottom of that first inning. The Rangers gave it right back up in that second inning and gave up their 3rd run in the 5th. But the Rangers came back and went ahead with the 2-run shot by Adolis in the 5th inning. Some really timely hitting from him. Nathaniel Lowe continues his chase for 300. He got a hit and a walk in this one, which was just a single. But Leody Taveras, who has been in need of some offensive spark to end the season, just give him something to go out on that has been anything other than his last month, which has been pretty terrible. He had a really hard hit double in the first game, but he really stepped up in the second game of this double header. He had a multi-hit game in this one. He only had 1 hit in the second game, which was a game-winning home run. But the first thing that happened in the second game of the doubleheader, of course, it was a home run by Aaron Judge. Hold on, I'm looking at the wrong box score. There we go. A home run by Aaron Judge. I accidentally clicked on the Arizona Fall League box score, and I did not see Aaron Judge in there because he is not playing in the Arizona Fall League. But on the 3rd pitch of the game by Jesus Tinoco was a hanging slider that Aaron Judge crushed into left field. everything went absolutely haywire. I was working the Dallas Morning News last night in the office, so I didn't have access to my physical TV, so I was stuck streaming it and watching on my little phone on the MLB app tracker. And I see in play runs, slider, middle. Oh, everything hit the fan. All right, everybody go. We had a whole bunch of different content and things to post. I want to give a shout out to, speaking of the Dallas Morning News, the photographer that we had on site, Elias Valverde II. He had some absolutely fantastic shots. Go check out his Instagram or his Twitter, or the Dallas Morning News has a bunch of his shots there on their Instagram and on the website as well in all of their content from the game. Just amazing shots of him, just trotting around the bases and, the swing, the shot. The fan who caught it was a really, really solid grab. Guy in the first row in left field was a left-handed guy wearing a glove on his right hand, made a snag, got in front of somebody just a little bit, but not too much, of the guy whose name I refuse to say because he makes a living stealing home run balls from children. But it wasn't too much of that. It was just he kind of got in good position, boxed out just a little bit, and made a solid catch. No bobble, no nothing. Just fist bumps right there. The guy was wearing a Rangers hat in the middle of a crowd wearing Yankees jerseys. So that's really nice, and I think the ball could be worth up to $2 million if he decides to sell it, or he could barter it with Aaron Judge. Judge last night said that he hadn't really heard from him. The ball, and he also said, it would be nice to get the ball back, but it's his right as a fan to keep it, which is kind of cool for him to say. But I'm pretty sure that Judge will eventually end up with the ball. I hope it's not just one of those things that is just passed down from rich person to rich person. It would be really nice for the person who hit it to actually get that piece of history. And it wasn't one of those moonshot shots. It was under 400 feet, I think 397 feet, just over 100 miles an hour off the bat. It wasn't the typical Judgian monster moonshot, but it was a hanging slider. He took full advantage of it. Had a hanging slider the pitch before that he fouled off, and then he just absolutely crushed that one. Middle. Could not have a better pitch. But I do want to give Jesus Tinoco credit, and I want to say that I was right. Technically, I was wrong with the actual pitcher, but I did say the first at-bat from the starter in the bullpen game, which technically I said was the morning game, because at the time that I was looking at it, the morning game was supposed to be the bullpen game. I thought AJ Lexi was going to start it, but really I mainly said the first batter, or the first at bat, I should say, of the bullpen game. So I was wrong, but technically I was right with my prediction. The who was wrong. The actual which game it was technically wrong. That's the Rangers' fault and John Gray's fault for picking the morning game start rather than my own fault. So I am counting that as a win. I know Judge is counting that as a win, and they pulled him after his next at-bat, so he got to have a little bit of a break. Good for him. Nice little fun moment, and continues a trend. The Rangers having a lot of history in their new stadium, but none of it really being theirs. Coming up, we're going to get into the first start from Kumar Rocker, and a really nice article that The Athletic wrote detailing some of the things that we did not know about why the Mets ended up passing on him and how that stuck with him. But first, this episode is brought to you by SimpliSafe. The numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen SimpliSafe Home Security to protect their home. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. I know because I use SimpliSafe in my home. They protect you with cutting-edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents that have your back always. And that's why I love it. With 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or can't be reached. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every single room, window, and door, HD security cameras from inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert when there is a threat present, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Our monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you get the highest priority police dispatch. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedonmlb. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedonmlb to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Now, it was a short outing for Kumar Rocker in his first, I was about to say professional, his first affiliated ball start. He ruined that professional thing by having the independent league start, those 4 starts where he went, 4 starts where he went 20 innings. Anyway, doesn't matter. He only went 1 inning in this one, and it was a little rocky, but he didn't allow a hit, and he didn't allow a run, and he did get a strikeout. But he still was able to work around. He pulled the Martin Perez, have a little bit of an issue with some walks, but it was no worry because he had his trusty slider working. He got a strikeout to a right-handed batter swinging on a very, very nasty slider, low and away. The fastball was 95 to 96 with some natural cut on it. He threw 28 pitches in that first inning. Only 9 of them were strikes, and he walked the bases loaded. But he didn't allow a run, and that's what matters. He was able to work out of that jam. The Rangers had a couple of other players that were in this one. Nick Starr worked an inning and 2/3, allowed 1 hit and 1 unearned run, I should say, and did get a strikeout. And Luis Angel Acuna played shortstop, went 1 for 5 with a 2-run blast, also struck out once. Cody Freeman, the catcher slash third baseman slash plays a whole lot of positions, caught in this one, went 2 for 3 with a walk and a run scored, and no strikeout in this one. So pretty solid stuff from the Rangers in that game. It was the second game that they've played, but the first start for Kumar Rocker. I'm not sure if the plan was 1 inning or around 25, 30 pitches. Again, they're being very, very careful with him. I understand. But one of the things that came out and that surprised me in this athletic article that was written by their Diamondbacks reporter, because again, it's the Arizona Fall League, did a really good job. That is Zach Buchanan, who's written quite a few really, really great things, I think even about the Rangers over the years. But still, this is a really, really nice profile. One of the things that came out is that the Mets never talked to him in that month or so when they were figuring out his medicals. There was no indication that there was like a problem with his health. He didn't think that there was a big issue. I mean, obviously he knew his stuff was dipping down towards the end of the season, but he was pitching through it, and he, was able to be fairly effective. It didn't have a great start in the College World Series that year that they ended up losing to, I believe it was Mississippi State that season. But still, he's like, we're fine. We're fine. Like, I am pitching through it. He led all of NCAA in innings pitched. He led them in strikeouts. I believe that he was tied exactly with his teammate Jack Leiter, and I'm pretty sure he had a lower ERA. Maybe it was a little bit higher, but it was still, I think around 260 something. Maybe Leiter's was 230 something. But anyway, it didn't matter. He wasn't walking a whole lot of guys. The velo was down just a little bit, but he's able to work through it and be a professional. And then here comes the day where he's got to be signed by, and he's heard nothing, and that's it. And the Mets still never told him what the issue was with his shoulder. He did a scan and found this old football injury that he probably would have had to clean up years down the line, but it wasn't really anything major. But he thought, well, since I'm not going to be pitching in minor league baseball, might as well get the shoulder surgery now, get it all cleaned up, and, resolve some of the concerns about my health. And really all that did was make people more skeptical, more worried. I feel like he probably should have just they should have been a little bit more open about what it was, and maybe it wouldn't have been as big an issue. But the thing that stood out to me in all the pre-draft stuff is that the Rangers cleared him. The Rangers medical staff had every single look at him, the same player a year later, a year older, and got around the same bonus that he was going to get from the Mets, which means the Rangers, I know they did go way under slot for him being the number 3 overall pick, but they had a plan with that, and they got Brock Porter, and they stuck to their plan. They made it work, and that was great. But they still paid him a lot of money, a lot more than it seemed like anybody else was really willing to do. But there was some buzz in this article talking about teams that were, there was a huge range of possibilities for where Kumar Rocker was going to go. Obviously, number 3 did not seem likely, but the Rangers, they didn't feel like it was a gamble. They thought, no, this guy's got a clean bill of health. We know the kind of pitcher he's been. He's been so scrutinized for so many years of, possibly being a first-round pick out of high school. So, evaluators got looks at him as a junior, sophomore, senior in high school, and they thought, okay, well, he's pretty good, but, we're not going to draft him because he wants to go to Vanderbilt, and he's made that pretty clear. So he goes to Vanderbilt, then he comes out of the draft, and thoughts are, okay, well, yeah, I've been evaluating him. You have 3 more years of college. Granted, he missed one of those years because there was a COVID season and there wasn't a whole lot of pitching that he could do. But his freshman year, he was absolutely electric, elite. Probably would have gone 1-1 if he could have come out after his freshman year. Threw that 19 strikeout no-hitter in the postseason against Duke. Really, really impressive stuff. But then scouts just kept getting in their own heads and getting in their own way about it, just overthinking and overanalyzing. Like, this guy is really good. This guy is really good. He's been really good for years and years and years, but it was paralysis by analysis, and they thought, wow, I don't know, is he really that good? And every single little thing that went wrong, they would just blow up because they had too much information to analyze this guy from. And the Rangers saw that and thought, you know what, there's an opportunity here. We're going to go be a little bit aggressive. There are a lot of these guys, but really there's pretty much a clear 1 and 2 in last year's draft in Holiday and the guy who I'm forgetting, who was drafted by the Diamondbacks, number 2 overall, who had another father who was in the major leagues, whatever. And there was Tamar Johnson, who seems to be pretty good. None of those guys are really having just elite. The guys that were drafted below Rocker having any elite crazy seasons that you would think, oh no, the Rangers really already messed up on that. But Rocker was solid, and they really liked Brock Porter as well. And because the medicals were cleared, they thought, all right, this is the thing to do. Coming up, we're going to get a little bit more into what Rocker did to help kind of shape him, and a little bit of a look at Leody Taveras' season, because it's definitely something worth noting. But first, this word from our sponsors. So I don't want to give away the entirety of this article. You should go read it, subscribe to The Athletic. They do some really great journalism over there. But one of the things that he really worked on was changing that arm slot. One of the things that was a little worrisome to the evaluators, why they had some issues with Rocker, is that he was throwing a little more overhead, putting more stress on his elbow, not letting his whole frame, legs, torso, and whatever do the work. Just a lot of stress on the elbow and the shoulder. And shoulder injuries are one of the scariest things for pitchers. So again, that's another reason why that shoulder surgery, even though it was minor and routine and just clearing something up because he had time, because again, he wasn't drafted, it kind of sent people into a tizzy about, oh no, is he even going to be a first rounder next year? Well, he was drafted number 3 overall, which, the Rangers could have gone with Rocker the year before. Like, that could have been a very real possibility. They went with Leiter. They liked him a little bit better. But, the fact that they could get both of these guys is really, really a testament to how confident they feel in their pitching development, which, again, took kind of a big step back this past year. Not a whole lot of bright spots in the first half of the season. Things did break out a little bit towards the back half. We did get to see Cole Reagans make it all the way up to the major leagues and have some really nice starts there. We got to see some really great stuff from Owen White. The months that he spent on the IL with, I don't know, his shoulder, his elbows kind of sore, was worrisome, but he still came back to help the Frisco Rough Riders win a Texas League championship, so maybe it's not all bad. But the Rangers did part ways with longtime pitching coach Jeff Andrews, who was Frisco's pitching coach. He'd been there for the past 3 seasons. This was his second stint with the Rangers. He was Frisco's pitching coach before, I think, 2008 or so to like 2018, took a couple years off, then came back to Frisco. But again, I don't know if his dismissal or, lack of picking up his contract, re-signing him, it wasn't an actual firing. It was just, we're not re-signing you, going in a different direction. I don't know if part of that was due to Leiter's struggles or inability to get better. I'm not saying that was the only factor, but I got to believe that it played at least a little bit of a factor. And it wasn't just Leiter. There were some guys who had some really great seasons in Frisco. Cody Bradford really struggled out of the gates, and the same could be said about some of the other pitchers. But Bradford really figured it out down the stretch. There were some other guys who were having not so great first halves of the seasons that kind of figured it out towards the back half, and Zach Kent was definitely one of those guys who struggled in the first half of the season, but figured it out towards the back half. But there were some other guys who were starting in the starting rotation, but moved to the bullpen, and even in the bullpen, they couldn't really figure out their issues with the walks and all of that nonsense. Kevin Gowdy is one of those guys who really, really comes to mind because he just had just a really, really rough season, and when he moved to the bullpen, it just didn't get a whole lot better, which was really, really frustrating. We saw some really great stuff from Chase Lee when he was there as a reliever. We saw some really good stuff from Mason Englert in his final few starts. He did have a couple, I think just one postseason start that sent Frisco to the championship. He had 3 starts with Frisco, just over 5 innings per start, and an ERA just a little bit above 4. Avery Williams was a guy who really, really struggled this season. He had some good moments towards the back half of the year, but still overall not super encouraging. Antoine Kelly was one of the guys, or I guess the guy in the Matt Bush trade, and he really did not do well at all in his 7 outings for Frisco. 5 of those were starts, but he averaged, 5 starts in 18 and 2/3 innings and 2 outings out of the bullpen, 19 walks. So more walks than innings pitched. That's not a great sign. He did have more strikeouts than walks, so encouraging. Didn't allow a home run, but also hit 4 batters. So I think a lot of that played into it. Justin Slayton finished the year. He was sitting around 10 with his ERA, got it down to 6.93, only had 5 starts on the season, ended the year with 48 walks and 50 2/3 innings, but did strike out 64. So, it's just really a mixed bunch. But it was supposed to be a really, really great pitching year. It was supposed to be great for, the entirety of the organization. It was about 1 through 5. You even got 6 legitimate, potential big leaguers in the starting rotation. And, it didn't quite live up to the billing. I have all confidence that Jack Leiter is going to come back next year and figure his stuff out, but I think a little bit of a change was necessary there. I think depending on how many innings Kumar Rocker pitches, he could end up starting the season in Double-A. I think the Rangers might have just learned their lesson with Leiter, who was, again, it seemed like as big league ready a pitching prospect at college as we had seen in quite some time, and even he just really, really struggled starting the season in Double-A. Would it have been better if he started the season in High A and then, got the bump after a couple of starts? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it would have, maybe it wouldn't have. Maybe he would have been able to figure out how to not miss glove side with every single fastball. I don't know. Maybe he would have had a little bit better of a feel for throwing his breaking stuff for strikes. I don't know, but I have to think that they might have learned a little bit of a lesson of starting a guy in Double-A is really, really tough. Even though Kumar Rocker has pitched professionally before and now has pitched in affiliated ball, I think High A is going to be the place to start him, especially if they're going to be very, very judicious with his pitch count in this Arizona Fall League. I'm really hoping we can get more than 1 inning outings from him later on, but I'm honestly just happy to see him on a mound, doing well, throwing strikes and striking guys out. The fastball seems to have regained its velocity, and the slider looks just about as nasty as always. So those are definitely some encouraging signs, but let's look a little bit ahead at this final game of the regular season. We already have a starting lineup. There's going to be no Corey Seager. We're going to get Charlie Culberson in left field. Daniel Lowe enters hitting .301 with a chance to seal the first 300 season since 2016 by any Rangers hitter. Got Josh Young batting cleanup, playing third. Adolis DHing. Josh Smith hitting in the 5 hole. That's fun. Hey, no Cole Calhoun. So kind of happy about that. We do end up with Charlie Culberson. Bubba Thompson is in right field. We have Leody in center field coming off of those 3 hits on the day in the doubleheader. By the way, Leody's home run was the second furthest hit ball in all of Major League Baseball yesterday. Yeah, That's pretty impressive and a really, really nice sign for a guy who had a really, really great start to the season, fell off a deep hole in the second half, but still proved he is a valuable center fielder. I think he and Bubba Thompson are going to be battling for the center field job next year. I'm not entirely sure that the Rangers are going to go bring in an outsider for the left field job if they go internally. I don't think anybody is really quite ready. It's going to be Bubba Thompson's job to lose, or Ezekiel Duran's. That could definitely be an option. Still, I think that it's really nice to give Leody, or for Leody to be able to do something really nice towards the end of the season, just kind of, go into the offseason like, all right, yeah, the second half wasn't great, but I ended it on a high note with those big home runs and a game-winning home run. The Rangers are now physically incapable of having a nice season because at most they can have 68 wins, which is just short of a nice season. They are fighting to not have 95 losses. So, at most they're going to be 8 wins better than last year. At worst, 7 wins. So, again, not the season the Rangers wanted, but definitely some signs of improvement. Would have been nice to see a little bit of Corey Seager, but having him play 3 games in the last 2 days of the season was a big ask. He's still probably recovering from that really, really bad bruise that he sustained in the series against Seattle, and I believe was the final game of that series, but it's been nice to see him back in. We're going to see Nathaniel Lowe try and hit 300. I think if he gets 1 hit, it probably should be enough. Maybe if he gets 5 at bat, goes 1 for 5, I think he could go down to 299. Entirely possible. I don't know. We'll see what it is. This game is probably right about to start as you are listening to this, or already started and you already know the outcome. And if so, congratulations on your ability to be in the future, in the off season, past this silly, goofy season, and heading into what's hopefully going to be a lot better season next year. That is going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. For your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, he will be giving you a playoff preview with some stuff from all of the Locked On playoff hosts, which unfortunately has never been me. Maybe will be me next year. I'm looking forward to a season where I can podcast about a playoff team. Not going to be this year, but forgive my optimism. But I have a good feeling about next year. Go check out Locked On MLB. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Y'all, thank you so much for listening and subscribing, and enjoy. Don't forget to enjoy Texas Rangers baseball.